Where to invest in 2023? Disclaimer, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have a Google Sheet, and you can achieve a lot with the right dashboard to guide you. So here's a file I've put together, and it looks at momentum across different countries, different factors, different sectors, and the only area to show momentum at the moment is Turkey, which went up about 10% in the month of December. Most other areas showing some negative growth over the 3 and 1 month time periods. So when we look at Turkey in a bit more detail, what we can see is that it had a long-term decline. The PE ratio went into low single digits, but then there were catalysts for a turnaround, such as low real interest rates and growing trade with Russia. So the index rises to better reflect this, and then also here you've got relative strength rising as well. And it carries on rising because it's one of the few areas of growth and no one really wants to sell. So in terms of our factors, quality isn't really there. Value was there certainly right at the start, and it's kind of ebbing away on a daily basis, and then momentum definitely there. So when you've got at least, I think, 2 of these factors, then you're potentially on to something worth looking at further. So there's no need for forecasts. Forecasts generally reflect either the trend of what's currently going on, or if that trend is unsustainable, then they will reflect mean reversion. And the top trading houses have their own macro data, which they've already reacted to by the time you see a free forecast. News is just generally a clickbait distraction. And instead, you need to look for momentum, which is strong price growth, or trend, which is consistent upward price movement. And a trend is simply price being greater than a short-term moving average, and that short-term moving average being greater than a longer-term moving average. So now let's look at some areas that currently have trend and that could continue that trend into 2023. So the first one is healthcare. We've got the chart here, price in blue, high in orange, and EMAs in red and yellow, low in green. So it all lines up nicely. The EMAs come together, but they never cross. Really good trend that's been in place for a long time. I mean, clearly it was a beneficiary of COVID, or wasn't impacted that adversely by COVID, so that certainly helped a lot. Top 10 holdings here. In UK terms, I mean, it's benefited from the strong dollar as well. Next up, consumer staples, not quite as strong because the moving averages come together and maybe slightly cross. It's a bit more of a messy sort of graph, but you do get the general overall trend. And again, we're benefiting here from the strong dollar. We've got the major holdings here, some very strong brand names, very well diversified companies, good dividends, and everything's looking fairly solid for those companies. And in times of economic uncertainty, then consumer staples can be a reasonable place to park your money. Next up, we've got Dividend Aristocrats. These are companies that have a record of increasing their dividend over 20 or more years, and this one has much lower weightings and more holdings within the exchange traded fund. USDV is the ticker on this one. So initially doesn't really do so well, but then as we move to a more value orientated market, then the price does start to go up. So it's probably a good idea to watch emerging markets during 2023. They could have a strong growth phase, as we've seen for Turkey, and here are some potential markets that might do well, but we'd need to watch these and see if the momentum and relative strength really build out of these ones. In the second half of the year, look for speculative thematic ETFs. We've got the usual suspects of biotechnology, battery technology, clean energy, cyber security, and every now and again they get a lot of hype behind them and a lot of speculative money will flow into these sort of thematic ETFs, but you need to wait until they show momentum. Also, in 2023, possibly we've got some trends coming to an end, so things like the strong dollar, because of what's going on with interest rates at the moment, and rising commodity prices. So commodity prices might plateau, but they might not continue rising into 2023. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it gave you lots of areas to think about. If you've got any questions, any things that you're looking at for 2023, please leave them in the comments and subscribe to the channel.